They say love is a battlefield, a dance, a journey. Quaint. But those are metaphors for children and poets who haven't yet seen the wiring beneath the floorboards. Let me offer you a more accurate one. Love, as we have engineered it, is a room of funhouse mirrors designed by a committee of anxious gods. And in the center of this room is a single, unforgiving spotlight. You, my friend, are perpetually on stage. This is the first and perhaps the kindest of the 5 truths we'll be discussing tonight. It's a truth that smells of stale perfume and quiet desperation. The test. The infernal, unspoken, omnipresent test. She tests you. Not because she is cruel, though cruelty can be a byproduct, but because she is a high priestess of a faith she doesn't know she belongs to. A faith built on the altar of control. It's a Foucauldian nightmare dressed in a summer dress. You see, the philosopher Foucault spoke of the panopticon, a prison where the inmates can be seen at all times but never know when they are being watched. This uncertainty forces them to discipline themselves. They become their own wardens. Is this not the very architecture of modern courtship? Her tests are not grand, dramatic trials. They are not riddles posed by a sphinx at the gates of Thebes. They are far more insidious. They are quiet, micro-auditions. She will mention an ex-boyfriend, a phantom rival, not to make you jealous, but to watch how the light flickers in your eyes. Does it reveal insecurity, rage, or the one thing she fears and craves in equal measure, indifference? She will cancel plans at the last minute, offering a flimsy excuse. This is not about the rain check. It is a stress test on the load-bearing walls of your self-respect. Do you crumble? Do you plead? Do you rage? Or do you simply say, "All right, another time then," and return to your own world? A world whose orbit, maddeningly, does not depend on her gravitational pull. There's an old piece of forgotten folklore from some misty, God-forsaken village in the Carpathians. It tells of a girl who was promised to the spirit of the forest, a wild, untamable thing of shadow and moss. But the girl was clever. She told the spirit she would be his. But first, he had to prove his devotion by living for 1 month in a cage she built. The cage was beautiful, woven from willow branches and moonlight. The spirit, amused and infatuated, agreed. For a month, he sat in the cage, and the girl brought him berries and sang to him. He was a perfect prisoner. At the end of the month, she opened the door. The spirit stepped out, but he was smaller, Tamer. The wildness in his eyes had been replaced by a domesticated glow. He was no longer the god of the forest. He was her pet, and seeing him so diminished, so controlled, she felt a wave of disgust and pity. She had tested the wildness out of him. She had killed the very thing she fell in love with. She turned and walked away, leaving him in the silent, empty clearing, forever ruined by his own compliance. This is the terrible paradox of the test. The man who passes is the man who fails. Every time you contort yourself to fit the keyhole she presents, you are filing a piece of yourself away. Every time you swallow your own opinion to offer the correct one, you are performing a tiny spiritual suicide. You are the clockmaker in that other fable. The one who builds a perfect, intricate man out of gears and springs for a lonely queen. She marvels at his flawless conversation, his perfect posture, his unwavering attention. But one night, in the sterile silence of the royal bedroom, she whispers, "I am so lonely." And the clockwork man, programmed for perfection, replies, "That is an irrational emotion. Let us analyze its logical fallacies." In that moment, she realizes she is more alone than ever. She has surrounded herself with a mirror, not a man. The modern psychological data, the little charts and graphs published in sterile journals in 2024 that try to quantify the human soul, are just now catching up to this ancient, bitter wisdom. They have clinical names for it now: evaluative threat in romantic pairings, authenticity erosion under social surveillance. They note with academic detachment that couples who engage in high levels of covert testing report lower long-term satisfaction. It's like discovering, after centuries of meticulous research, that fire is, in fact, hot. The real horror is not the test itself, but the slow, creeping realization that the audition is your life. There is no final curtain, no wrap party. The prize for a stellar performance is simply a more demanding role tomorrow. So, I ask you, as the candle sputters and the shadows on the wall twist into unfamiliar shapes, a question that should chill you more than any ghost story. What part of yourself have you sanded down, polished, or killed today just to earn a passing grade in her gaze? To become her perfect man is to become a beautiful, hollow thing. There's a secret that men who have been successful in love never speak of. It's a quiet, creeping horror that arrives not in the heat of a breakup, but in the chilling stillness of a long, peaceful relationship. It's the slow dawning realization that you have won. You passed all the tests. You navigated the labyrinth of her expectations. You are the one. You are trusted, stable, predictable. You are loved, and you have never been more of a ghost. This is the second truth, the one that follows a man home after he's won the prize. It's the truth of the taxidermist's art. From a distance, the creature looks magnificent. The wolf stands proud, its teeth bared in a silent snarl. The eagle is frozen mid-flight, its eyes gleaming with a glassy, eternal fire. Perfect, lifelike. But touch it. It's cold, it's hard, it's hollow. All the chaos, the vitality, the glorious, unpredictable life force has been scooped out, replaced by wire and plaster and preservative chemicals. This is what it is to become the perfect man. It is an act of exquisite self-taxidermy. Remember the wildness she claimed to adore? The untamed edge, the unpredictable passion, the sovereign mind that so fascinated her? That was the living animal. The tests were the tools of the taxidermist. The little demands for reassurance were the scalpel. The pressure to conform, to be more responsible, more present, more like her idea of you. That was the preservative fluid, slowly displacing your own blood. Each compromise, each time you chose her comfort over your own truth, you were hollowing yourself out, making room for the armature of her approval. And then one day, you wake up. You are lying in a comfortable bed, in a beautiful home. The woman beside you loves the man she is lying next to, but you, the consciousness trapped inside this beautifully preserved shell, feel a profound and terrifying disconnect. You watch yourself move through the world, saying the right things, making the right choices, being the reliable, dependable rock she always wanted. You are a masterpiece of her creation. And the real you, the chaotic, vital you-ness of you, is screaming from behind the glass eyes. Kierkegaard, that magnificent Danish melancholic, understood this better than anyone. He spoke of the despair of not willing to be oneself. This is the ultimate sin in his universe. To flee from your own unique, terrifying, glorious existence and seek refuge in an identity crafted by another. You trade the anxiety of freedom for the comfort of a cage you have helped decorate. You are no longer a man. You are an institution. And institutions, my friend, are where passion goes to die a quiet, bureaucratic death with all the proper paperwork filed in triplicate. There's a strange, bitter little tale they tell in parts of rural Sicily. It's about a puppeteer who carved a marionette so perfect, so lifelike, that he fell in love with it. He spent all his days with the puppet, teaching it to dance, to laugh, to weep. He neglected his friends, his work, his own life, all to perfect the performance of this wooden man. One night, a fata, a fairy, took pity on him. She touched the puppet, and it sprang to life. A real boy. The puppeteer was overjoyed. But the boy, now free, had no interest in the puppeteer. He wanted to run, to fight, to make his own mistakes, to live his own story. He smashed the other puppets and ran off to see the world. The puppeteer was left utterly alone in his workshop, surrounded by broken strings and the suffocating silence of a life he had given away to an object of his own making. He had succeeded so perfectly that his success had abandoned him. This is the secret terror. She doesn't want the real you. She wants the idea of you, domesticated and predictable. The moment you give her that, the game is over. The chase is done. The strange, feral energy that drew her in has been successfully euthanized. And what is left? A comfortable companionship, a partnership, a project successfully completed. And you are its central exhibit. This is why, in the dead of night, you find yourself staring at the ceiling, feeling a nameless dread. It's the ghostly echo of the man you used to be, the one you traded in for this comfortable, well-lit prison. The faint, almost imperceptible hope in this grim scenario is the dread itself. That feeling of wrongness, that cold spot in your soul, is the last ember of the real you, refusing to be extinguished. It's a sign that the taxidermy isn't complete. There's still something alive in there, rattling the cage. And so, here is my question for you, whispered from one ghost to another across the quiet hum of the digital void. If she held up a mirror to your soul right now, would you see your own face? Or the face of the man you became to please her? The light they cast you out from is the only one that lets you see. Let's play a little game of make-believe. Let's imagine a man who refuses the audition. A man who, when presented with a cage of willow branches and moonlight, simply turns and walks back into the forest. A man who, when the funhouse mirror is held up to him, has the audacity to smash it. What happens to this man? He's called difficult, uncaring, selfish, unstable. He's labeled a monster, a ghost, a narcissist. He is cast out. He is the heretic burned at the stake of social convenience. He is the man who fails all the tests, spectacularly and without apology. And in this failure, in this exile, he finds the one thing the compliant man will never know: liberation. This is the third truth, the one that tastes of ash and open sky. The world will tell you this man is lonely. Don't confuse solitude with loneliness. Loneliness is a failed connection. It is the aching void where another person was supposed to be. It is the disease of the man still waiting for the audition, still hoping to be seen. Solitude, on the other hand, is a declaration of sovereignty. It is the quiet, humming power of a universe that is self-contained. It is the peace of the mountain that does not need the validation of climbers. Nietzsche, that old philosopher with the tragic mustache and the soul of dynamite, would have recognized this man. He would have called him perhaps a step toward the Übermensch, the overman. Not a tyrant, not a brute, but a creator of his own values. A man who stops seeking approval from the herd and instead learns to legislate for himself. To be cast out by a society that demands your self-annihilation is not a punishment. It is a graduation. You have been exiled from a sick ward. Congratulations. Think of the old myths. The truly powerful figures were always outsiders. Odin hung himself from the world tree alone to gain the knowledge of the runes. The Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree alone to achieve enlightenment. Christ spent 40 days and 40 nights in the desert alone to face his demons. The strength was not found in the village square, in the midst of the crowd, in the warmth of acceptance. It was found in the howling wilderness, in the terrifying silence of the self. The modern world has forgotten this. We are terrified of being alone. Our phones are little talismans against the horror of our own company. We scroll and swipe and post, screaming into the digital void. Look at me. I am here. Validate me. The man who turns off the phone, who sits in a room and is content with the company of his own thoughts. He is the true rebel. He has broken the primary chain of the modern panopticon, the need to be seen. When a woman tests this man, the results are confusing for her. She pushes, he does not move. She pulls, he does not follow. She creates drama. He observes it with the detached curiosity of a naturalist watching a strange beetle. He's not playing her game. More terrifyingly, he does not seem to realize a game is being played. This is incomprehensible. Is he stupid? Arrogant? Or, most frightening of all, is he simply free? A man who does not need her validation cannot be controlled by its withdrawal. A man whose happiness is not contingent on her mood cannot be manipulated by it. He is a broken tool. He is a locked room in her house of control, a maddening enigma. She may be drawn to this, like a moth to a flame that offers no warmth, only the threat of annihilation. She may try with all her might to map his wilderness, to chart his depths, but she will fail. He is not a territory to be conquered. He is his own cartographer. Inevitably, she will leave. She will seek out a man who can be molded, a project that can be completed, and the heretic will be left alone once more. And in that solitude, he will not find despair. He will find the quiet, expansive peace of a kingdom, where he is the only subject and the only king. His life may not be happy in the way the greeting cards describe it. It may be stark and demanding, but it will be his. Every jagged edge, every flaw, every scar will be authentic. It is the difference between a manicured garden and a primordial forest. One is pretty, the other is alive. The fragile hint of hope here isn't a promise of a better love down the road. It's the discovery that you don't need to be loved by another to be whole. The true liberation is realizing the cage door was never locked. You just had to stop asking the guard for permission to leave. So, here is my challenge to you, a dare whispered from the shadows of exile. What prison of comfort would you burn down tonight, just to feel the cold, clean air of your own wilderness on your face? She tests for a monster, hoping to find a man who can slay it. We have spoken of the cage, of the ghost, of the heretic. We have painted the woman as the warden, the taxidermist, the inquisitor. And if we stop there, we have told a convenient lie. A comforting, masculine story of blame that is as hollow as the taxidermied wolf on the mantelpiece. The fourth truth is more difficult. It requires us to look at the architect of the prison and see not a tyrant, but another prisoner, locked in a different cell. Why does she test? Why the hunger for control? Let's be brutally, poetically honest. It is not because she is a creature of pure logic and safety. That is the story she tells herself, the lie whispered from society's script. Deep down, In the ancient reptilian corners of her soul, she is not looking for a reliable accountant. She is looking for a god, or failing that, a monster. She is looking for a force of nature, something untamable, unpredictable, something that cannot be controlled. This is the central, agonizing paradox of the feminine impulse in a world gone mad. Her conscious mind, conditioned by 1,000,000 years of evolution and 1,000 years of civilization, screams for security. It craves the steady, predictable man, the good provider, the safe harbor, the clockwork partner who will not abandon her or the children. A 2023 study from the University of Zurich on mate preference heuristics confirmed this with painful clarity. When surveyed, women overwhelmingly prioritize traits like stability and agreeableness for long-term partners. It's a rational choice. It is also a profound betrayal of her own deepest instincts. Because her soul, her blood, her bones, they do not yearn for agreeableness. They yearn for the storm. They are drawn to the man who stands outside the village walls, the heretic with the dangerous halo. They crave the man whose presence feels like a thunderstorm about to break on a humid summer evening. Terrifying, electric, and utterly, devastatingly alive. She wants the wolf, not the well-trained sheepdog. And so, the tests. The tests are not designed to find the sheepdog. They are designed to find the wolf, and then, tragically, to see if he can be taught to behave like a sheepdog. It is a schizophrenic mission, doomed from the start. Imagine a priestess in an ancient, forgotten temple. Her people are starving. They need a god of the harvest, a gentle, nurturing deity who will make the crops grow. But the only god who answers her prayers is the god of the volcano, a wild, fiery, destructive force. She is fascinated by his power, his raw, untamed essence. She needs his fire, but she fears his eruption. So what does she do? She invites him into the temple and begins to bargain. "Be our god," she pleads, "but please, no lava. Give us your heat, but keep the earthquakes to yourself. Be a volcano, but a safe one." It is an insane request. It is the request every woman makes of a man she truly desires. The tests are her desperate, clumsy attempt to reconcile these two warring needs. She pokes the sleeping lion to see if it is truly a lion. And when it roars, a part of her thrills with terror and ecstasy. He is real. But the other part, the village minder, the nest builder, immediately begins to wonder how to blunt its claws and file its teeth. She is testing for the monster and the man who can slay it, all within the same body. She wants to know, are you powerful enough to protect me from the world? And are you tame enough that I don't need protection from you? Can you be both the storm and the harbor? The fire and the hearth? The unchained god and the household pet? The answer, of course, is no. Nothing can be its own opposite. And this is the source of the eternal tragedy. When a man fails her tests by being too compliant, she feels contempt. He is not the god. He is just a man in a cheap costume. When he fails her tests by being too wild, too sovereign, she feels fear. He is a true god, but he is not a safe one. He will not be worshipped in her temple on her terms. So, when you feel the prick of her test, understand that you are not dealing with a simple antagonist. You are dealing with a soul at war with itself. She is a zookeeper in love with a tiger, a role that guarantees she will one day be heartbroken or eaten. She is a cartographer trying to map a coastline that shifts with every tide. Her cruelty is the cruelty of confusion. Her manipulations are the desperate maneuvers of a deeply divided self. This does not excuse her, but it explains her. It turns the drama from a simple villain story into a complex human tragedy. Which leads me to this riddle for you to ponder in the ruins of her failed temple. She seeks a man who cannot be chained, yet she arrives with a pocket full of keys. What is the one lock that she truly wants to open? To be truly free is to become invisible to those who would survey you. The king who built his walls so high to keep the watching world at bay found peace not in the stone or sky, but when they all had looked away. We have journeyed through the labyrinth tonight. We have seen the cage, the ghost, the heretic, and the hunger that drives the whole grotesque and beautiful machine. We arrive now at the end. Not an answer, but a quiet resolution. The fifth and final truth. It is not a battle cry or a piece of advice. It is a state of being. It is the ultimate liberation that comes when a man stops chasing, stops fighting, stops performing, and simply disappears. I don't mean he ceases to exist. I mean he ceases to be visible to the system of judgment. He achieves a kind of sovereign invisibility. He enters the kingdom of the unseen. This is the final evolution beyond the heretic. The heretic defines himself by his opposition. His freedom is a reaction against the cage. He is still tethered to the thing he rejects, like a revolutionary who cannot stop talking about the king he has overthrown. His identity is forged in the fire of their exile. There is still a performance, even if it is a performance of defiance. The man who enters this final kingdom transcends that duality. He is no longer defined by the test, either by passing or failing it. He is simply elsewhere. He has not left the city. He has just learned to walk its streets in a way that the cameras do not register. He has not silenced the crowd. He has just learned to find the silence within its roar. Schopenhauer, that gloriously grim maestro of pessimism, would have understood this. He argued that the will, the blind, striving, insatiable engine of desire, was the source of all suffering. To chase love, approval, or validation is to be a slave to the will. The only path to peace, he suggested, was the denial of this will. Not through suicide, but through a kind of aesthetic and ascetic detachment. To observe the world as a work of art, a great tragic play, but to understand that you are not required to be one of its frantic actors. You can simply be the audience. The man in this state does not chase women. He does not repel them. He simply exists. His center of gravity is located so firmly within himself that the gravitational pull of others, their approval, their desire, their tests, no longer throws him off his axis. He is his own sun. Planets may enter his orbit, or they may fly past. It is of no consequence to the sun's burning. When a woman meets this man, she finds there is nothing to test. It's like trying to test the sky for its opinion, or the ocean for its insecurity. The tools of the panopticon, shame, validation, jealousy, drama, have no purchase here. They slide off him like water off stone. He's not being evasive or playing a game of hard to get. He is genuinely, authentically, and terrifyingly complete without her. He cultivates his own garden, not to attract butterflies, but for the love of the soil and the rain. He reads his books not to be interesting at a dinner party, but to commune with the dead. He builds his body not for the gaze of a lover, but for the quiet, humming pleasure of his own strength. His life is a closed, self-sustaining ecosystem. If someone wishes to enter, they must learn the climate, breathe the air, and respect the laws of the land. He does not adapt to them. They must adapt to him or leave. This is the strange, fragile hope I mentioned at the beginning, the one that deepens the darkness. The liberation is not about finding the right woman. It is not about winning the game. It is about realizing that the only person you have been fighting with all along is yourself. The need for her gaze was a projection of your own lack of self-sight. The ultimate power is the power to not need power over others. The ultimate control is to have no need to control anyone, including the woman who stands before you, her hands full of tests and expectations. You see her, not as a warden or a goddess, but as another struggling, beautiful, flawed human being. And you can offer her a kindness she has likely never known. The kindness of not needing anything from her at all. You can love her, perhaps for the first time, without the contamination of need. And this is the final, chilling paradox. It is only when a man truly reaches this state of sovereign solitude, this kingdom of the unseen, that he becomes the man she was looking for all along. The unchained God who has no need for a temple, the king who needs no subjects. But by then, it's too late. He no longer needs a worshiper. He is the religion and the congregation, all in one. He is free. And so, my final question to you, a quiet invitation delivered from the silent throne room of the self. Now that the theater is empty and the mirrors are all shattered and no one is watching, who are you?